the world's highest mountains have always stood as the ultimate test of human endurance. Above 8,000 meters lies a place climbers call the death zone, where every breath contains only a fraction of the oxygen found at sea level, where the cold freezes exposed skin within minutes, and one mistake can become your last. For decades, conquering these giants demanded years of preparation, extraordinary courage, and a willingness to risk everything. Then came one man, a man who refused to believe the impossible. His name was Nirmal Purja, but the world would come to know him as Nimsdai. Long before the world celebrated his achievements, Nirmal Purja was simply a boy growing up in the hills of Nepal. Far from the world's tallest summits, life here was simple, shaped by hard work, family, and the rhythm of the mountains. As a child, Nirmal often looked toward the towering Himalayas, peaks that seemed to touch the heavens. Few could have imagined that one day he would stand on every one of those giants. His family wasn't wealthy. Nothing about his childhood suggested he would one day rewrite mountaineering history. Instead of becoming a climber, he chose a life of service. He joined the legendary Gurkhas, soldiers whose courage has earned respect across the world for generations. The training was relentless. Every day tested his strength, endurance, and resolve. But even among these elite warriors, Nirmal stood apart. His determination carried him even further. He became the first Gurkha ever selected into Britain's legendary Special Boat Service. One of the world's most demanding Special Forces units had accepted him. The training demanded more than strength. It demanded discipline, resilience, and absolute control under pressure. Without realizing it, those years were preparing him for an even greater challenge. Because while he served his country, the mountains were calling. Soon, he would announce a dream so ambitious that even the world's greatest climbers believed it couldn't be done. The Earth is home to just 14 mountains that rise above 8,000 meters. Together, they represent the greatest challenge in mountaineering. Above 8,000 meters lies the death zone, a place where the human body slowly begins to shut down. The air holds only a fraction of the oxygen found at sea level. Every step becomes a fight. Every breath feels earned. Avalanches, hidden crevasses, brutal storms, and freezing temperatures make these mountains some of the deadliest places on Earth. For many climbers, reaching just one of these summits is the achievement of a lifetime. The fastest anyone had climbed all 14 peaks had taken nearly 8 years. Then, in 2019, Nirmal Purja made an announcement that stunned the climbing world. He called it Project Possible. His mission was simple to say, but almost impossible to achieve. Climb every one of the world's 14 highest mountains in a matter of months. Many experts didn't believe him. Some laughed. Others called it reckless. To many, attempting all 14 peaks so quickly wasn't ambition. It was a suicide mission. But Nims had spent his entire life proving people wrong. To him, the word impossible was simply another mountain waiting to be climbed. Behind every great expedition stood an extraordinary team of Nepalese climbers, Sherpas, guides, and support crews. Months of planning, endless logistics. Every decision could mean the difference between success and disaster. Everything was ready. The countdown had begun. One man, 14 mountains. One dream the world believed could never become reality. The climb had begun, and history was about to change forever. The challenge had begun. From Pakistan, to Nepal, to Tibet. Nims moved from one giant mountain to the next with astonishing speed. Every mountain demanded something different. Above 8,000 meters, every step tested the limits of the human body. One misplaced step could mean a fall of thousands of feet. Avalanches could strike without warning. Towering walls of ice stood between him and every summit. Every breath became a battle against exhaustion. Yet he kept climbing. Even while chasing history, he never forgot humanity. He repeatedly stopped to help stranded and struggling climbers. For Nims, no record was worth more than a human life. One by one, the world's highest mountains surrendered. The impossible schedule became reality. Then came the final mountain. He stood where no one had ever stood before, having completed all 14 8,000ers in just 6 months and 6 days. The climbing world could hardly believe what it had witnessed. What had once taken nearly 8 years, he had achieved in less than 7 months. The impossible had become history. But for Nims, reaching the top was never the end of the story. His greatest achievement wasn't only the record, it was changing how the world saw Nepal's climbers forever. But for Nims, the achievement was never only about reaching summits. For generations, Nepal's Sherpas and climbing guides had made the impossible possible for others. They fixed ropes across dangerous cliffs, carried heavy loads through the death zone, and rescued stranded climbers, often risking their own lives. Yet their courage rarely made headlines. Their names were often forgotten, even when their actions saved lives. Nims wanted to change that. He believed the world should celebrate not just one climber, but the extraordinary people who had carried mountaineering on their shoulders for generations. His journey reached millions through the Netflix documentary 14 Peaks. Nothing is impossible. People across the world discovered not only an extraordinary mountaineer, but also the remarkable spirit of Nepal. His achievement became a symbol of pride for Nepal and for everyone who believed impossible dreams were worth chasing. The world remembered the record, but those who knew him remembered something greater. His courage inspired admiration. His humility earned respect, and his determination gave hope to millions. Yet even after changing mountaineering forever, Nims believed his greatest challenge still lay ahead. Even after changing mountaineering forever, Nims wasn't finished. His next ambition was even more extraordinary: to become the first person to climb all 14 8,000ers, twice, without supplemental oxygen. It was a dream worthy of the man who had spent his life proving the impossible wrong. In 2026, Nims returned to the mountains once again. His destination was Broad Peak, one of Pakistan's most formidable mountains. The Himalayas and Karakoram reward courage, but they never promise victory. Then, disaster struck. The avalanche claimed the life of one of mountaineering's greatest pioneers. Nirmal Purja was just 43 years old. Some people leave behind records, others leave behind monuments. Nims left behind something even greater: proof that human potential reaches far beyond the limits we imagine. His footprints may one day disappear beneath fresh snow, but his words will continue to inspire generations. Giving up is not in the blood, sir, because the greatest summit any of us can ever reach is believing that the impossible is possible.